So we shall finish that derivation. Last time we tried to integrate it by considering dx dy as a small square and rho s dx dy as its point charge. So that double integration was there. Instead, what you can have, instead to make it simple, what you can have is infinite line charges. XY plane is there. So you can consider horizontal strips. You can consider horizontal strips of width dy or delta y. What we need is that this should develop an analytical ability amongst you so that to get the answer. So infinite line charge whose negligible width is delta y. So what would be the line charge density? Listen very carefully. The concept is important. Infinite surface means there is uniform surface charge of rho s coulombs per meter square over entire xy plane. Then I can consider xy plane surface containing the charge as made up of either infinite point charges. Each point is means infinite approximated point charges, with each approximated point charge is for the square dx dy, and then its value would be rho s dx dy, right? And then summing up, or when I consider dx and dy tend to 0, integration as limit of sum. Otherwise, I can also consider the plane to be either vertical or horizontal strips. So let us consider horizontal strip. So horizontal strips of infinitesimal small length dy or delta y. So if rho s is the surface charge density, and I consider the surface to be made up of strips, so what would be approximated linear charge density over the small strip of width delta y? Means linear charge density is assumed to be the charge present over unit length. So the surface of the strip whose width is delta y, surface of the strip of unit length with width delta y would be 1 into delta y. Is it right? So surface would be 1 into delta y. So the charge over that would be rho s. 1 into delta y is delta y. So rho s delta y. So rho s means one strip, and all strips are of equal width delta y. So rho L would be rho s delta y. Rho s delta y, right? Then I am assuming y equal to 0 is the middle line. Then a point here at distance z. Point here at distance z. So what would be the electric field that would be called as again delta E? Why? Electric field delta E because of a strip of width delta y at y. Sorry, at y means what? I am considering the surface different strips of width delta y at various heights. Is it clear? So at y means there is one strip. If this is origin, if this is xy plane, this is x-axis, then some strip here, some strip here, some strip here. So the strip is y distance away from x-axis. Is it clear? Horizontal strip is y distance away from x-axis, and I am at 0, 0, z. at 0, 0, z, the contribution of the strip at distance y will be how much? What will be delta E? What will be delta E? Delta E would be rho L upon 2 epsilon. Now we don't use this one. Why? There is no point in using, because pi is not there, number one, and number two is that rho L, we need to replace rho S y, and again here it is epsilon naught we can consider, and it is r is the distance. Is it clear? So at 0, 0, z, contribution of this is delta E, and mod delta E would be this. What is the direction? This way. Always it would be wherever you go, and at 0, 0, z we are finding out, but that those coordinates, z is the distance, so it would be in this direction. One strip, what would be contribution of x-axis strip near x-axis? Directly in this direction, z direction, but others like this, some like this. So we can safely assume, because of symmetry, what will happen? It would be in this direction. This means it will be having each will be having components Ez, and Ey, and Ex will be 0, because I am considering what will be because of horizontal strip. So while considering horizontal strip itself, it is 0. So Ex and Ey, but because of symmetry, Eys will cancel each other. All Eys, some would be like this, some would be like this. So Eys cancel each other. So effectively, I have to sum up delta Ez. So this is delta E. What is delta? This is mod delta E. That is magnitude. Now what is delta Ez? What is delta Ez? Delta Ez would be mod delta E into delta Ez. Mod delta E into Z upon this distance. That is under root z square plus y square. Is it right? So it is rho L upon 2 epsilon naught. What is R? What is R again? Under root z square plus y square. Right? So R is under root z square plus y square into z upon under root z square plus y square. So that is equal to rho L. What is rho L actually? Rho L is rho S delta y. Is rho S delta y. So it is rho S delta y upon 2 epsilon naught z square plus y square, right, into z. Is it okay? Is it right? It is delta Ez. So what is Ez? It's summation and integration. So Ez would be integration of rho S Z delta, we can say dy upon 2 epsilon naught z square plus y square. And what are the limits of y? Minus infinity to infinity, right? Minus infinity to infinity. Is it okay? So it is rho S upon 2 epsilon naught will come outside, integration of minus infinity to infinity Z, make them outside, but we don't take it because we want to cancel it automatically. Z dy upon Z square plus Y square. So what substitution you can have effectively between Z and Y? This is Z, this is Y. So Y equal to Z tan theta, this is theta. Y equal to Z tan theta. Y equal to Z tan theta. With Y equal to Z tan theta, Y square is Z square tan square theta, Z square comes out. So what is dy? So it comes out as Z. So rho s upon 2 epsilon naught. What are the limits? In minus infinity to infinity. Minus this angle is like this, right? Infinity. This angle will increase to pi by 2. Minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. Z dy is so this is Z here, Z as it is, and Y equal to Z tan theta. So dy equal to Z sec square theta d theta upon Z square plus Z square tan square theta. So Z square comes out into bracket 1 plus tan square, it is sec square itself. Is it right? So what happens? Z gets cancelled out. 1 plus tan square, so it is simply d theta. D theta, right? So it comes out as somewhere we might, so it becomes is rho s I think we made a small mistake. When we made a mistake, it is rho s. When we made a mistake, मागचं चुकलं आपलं. काय चुकलंय? हे घेताना. कुठे चुकलं सांगा बघूया. Where we made a mistake? हे किती आलं? इंटिग्रेशन किती आलं? 5. बरोबर आहे? चुकलंय कुठं? कुठे चुकलंय? इथं हे आहे ना? ते करून टाकलं. This is this line formula we forgot to 2 pi. So everywhere there is pi. So pi gets cancelled and it becomes rho s upon is it right? So it becomes independent of z. That is the main conclusion. It becomes independent of z. Is it right? Okay. So I think that it's almost done. Now we'll move something further. Prior to that, one problem of assigned tutorial that I will just make a mention here so that batches can solve it tutorial, same tutorial. What is that? A triangle. So it's quite interesting. Whether anybody solved it yesterday? Triangle? Was it? So it's very simple. Origin, symmetry I provide. There is a triangle with all sides equal. A triangle with all sides as 1. A triangle whose all three sides are 1 and is centered around origin. Is centered around origin. Containing a surface charge. I think now you can just take any value, but it is now always better to have it in terms of rho s. So answer will be in terms of rho s itself. A triangle of all sides 1 centered around origin is carrying a uniform surface charge of rho s coulombs per meter square. Find out electric field E at 0, 0, Z. The triangle in XY plane. Triangle in XY plane of side 1 centered around origin. Right? And we have to calculate E at 0, 0, Z. So, by common sense, what we can consider means because of this, it will be in this side, because of this in this side. So, there will be, so this part and this part will contribute in such a manner that X and Y components will get cancelled and only there will be Z component. Right? So, what will be Ez? Delta Ez? Delta Ez would be, what would be mod delta E? It is x square plus y square plus z square. Means it would be rho. Now you have to use k here because 1 upon 4 5. So k rho s delta x delta y upon x square plus y square plus z square. Right? Is it okay? E delta E. And what is k? Charge upon distance square. And what is delta Ez? Sorry. This is mod delta E. What is delta Ez? Delta Ez is k rho s delta x delta y upon this z upon under root x square plus y square plus z square. So this z comes here and this becomes x square plus y square plus z square raised to 3 by 2, right? That's okay. But the only problem is that now, what is the problem? So, because of that small surface means we consider surface to be made up of approximated points, and this is the contribution of an approximated point. Now the question is, how will you put the limits? लक्षात आलं का? How will you put the limits? Is the question clear? There is no rocket science. म्हणजे integration has limit of sum कळलंय. This specific point at xy of dimensions dx dy, this is the contribution specific point. So total contribution would be this integration. So how will you integrate? How will you integrate? How will you integrate?
Write the equation of that lines and
Then is the question clear? How will you put the limits pointing? So what would be Ez? Ez would be integration. So what kind of integration would be? Ez would be integration, this k rho s will come out. K rho s double integration of z upon x square plus y square plus z square raised to 3 by 2 dx dy. So these are limits for x. These are x limits, and these are limits for y. This and this, this and this. So how would you put those limits? You put those limits. I make a small change. And I put limits as that is permissible, dy and dx. Dy and dx. So outer is x, inner is y. So how I can proceed further?
X is minus half to half and y is that equation of y.
It means now everybody is aware about what is required. Only thing is that unable to find out. This is something where we need to work. This is a triangle. So you can consider either dx dy or dy dx as you like. Luckily what I have done, I have taken this base as horizontal. So you can integrate over y. So what are the limits of x? What are limits of y? What is this one? Something. Not this and these are different. Center, it's center of a triangle. So this y limits are, so this is origin. So where it is, its center is of the triangle. So when it is center of the triangle, this distance and this distance, when I say center of triangle, are different. What are those? 2/3, 1/3?
Yes.
2/3, 1/3?
Yes.
So this would be now 2/3, 1/3 of total. 2/3, 1/3 of total. So if I consider this as P minus P, this would be 2P. Limits of y would be from minus P to 2P. Limits of y would be minus P to 2P. So y range is fixed. But for that, what is the range of x? Range of x. So when I put limits, so I can put limits as here minus P to 2P are the limits for y. But what are the limits for x? If you put limits of x and y both as P to P, he said minus half, something if it is put, what will happen? Then it would be always a rectangle. लक्षात का? जर x आणि y दोन्हीची लिमिट कॉन्स्टंट ठेवली तर I will always get a rectangle and I will not get a triangle. So where I will get a triangle? What are limits of x? What are limits of x? What are limits of x? Limits of x are minus 2. So where you may not get the exact answer right now, but one theme to integrate over triangle has to be there, has to be devised. How will you devise that? How will you integrate over a triangle? How will you integrate over a triangle? No. If limits of x in a double integration for surface integration in Cartesian coordinates, if limits for both x and y are some constants a, b, c, d, what you would be integrating is over a rectangle. When it will become a triangle? Find the equation of line and then what?
Find the relation between x and y.
Now I give a hint. So now I have changed the order. So these are the limits for y is all right. So limits of y I have taken. Limits of y I have taken. Y will have all the range. What range x will have? What range x will have? What range x will have? X will have range, x will have limits, limits should not be constant. There is a hint. X limits का है? When I am at y equal to minus p, limits of x are minus half to half. Limits of x are minus half to half. And when I am at y equal to 2p, limits of x are 0 to 0. So, limit of when y is minus 2p, limits of x are minus half to half and minus, it is when minus p, and when y is equal to 2p, limits are 0 to 0. So how it should be written down as? When it is minus p to p, it changes from minus half to 0. Lower limit or upper limit half to 0. When y is minus p, upper limit is half, and when y is 2p, upper limit is 0. म्हणजे half minus p असताना half आणि 2p असताना 0. y equal to minus p, x equal to half. म्हणजे लिमिट म्हणतो. अप्पर x म्हणायला नको आपण. अप्पर म्हणूया. अप्पर लिमिट. Upper limit. When y. So what is the upper limit? Upper limit is कसं लिहिता येईल? कसं लिहिणार?
y minus 6px
मायनस
6px
एक्स येणारच नाही ना, एक्स लिमिट आहे त्यात एक्स येणार नाही, त्यात एक्स येणार नाही.
लाईनची इक्वेशन
हा नाही, आता इथे कसं लिहिलंय? y जेव्हा मायनस पी आहे तेव्हा हे हाफ आहे
y
आणि
minus 2p upon minus 6p 2p minus y upon 6p
2p मायनस काय कसं लिहिणार?
minus y y2 minus y
किंवा नाही, हे होते का बघा,
पहिल्यांदा x
y प्लस p, y प्लस p म्हणलं तर काय होतंय? जेव्हा y इक्वल टू मायनस पी आहे किंवा मायनस पी प्लस पी 0 होते, तिथं तर हाफ आहे. आणि y जेव्हा 2p आहे तेव्हा 0 झालं पाहिजे. y म्हणजे y जेव्हा 2p आहे तेव्हा 0 झालं पाहिजे, म्हणजे काय येईल ते असे ते बघा,
x1 x2 and y1 y2 and x so
y मायनस 2p किती येते?
6p
y मायनस 2p म्हणलं तर when y is equal to 2p at a time 0 होते, पण जेव्हा y equal to
upon minus 6p
हा एक मिनिट, म्हणजे y equal to 2p ला हे 0 होतं आणि y equal to मायनस p ला किती होते?
y2
मायनस p मायनस 2p मायनस 3p झालं. तिथं किती पाहिजे आपल्याला? 1/2 पाहिजे. म्हणजे 2p मायनस y अपॉन 6p, बरोबर आहे? when p is equal to when y is equal to minus p, तिथं झालं 2p minus 3p upon 6p हाफ झालं, and when y is equal to 2p 0 झालं, right? So the limits are इथं मायनस p to 2p आणि इथे किती आहे? टॉप लिमिट आहे 2p मायनस y अपॉन 6p आणि इथं ते मायनस p y मायनस 2p अपॉन 6p, हे लिमिट झाले कशाचे? x चे. x जास्त x कमी, हा असं आहे. बर, आता अजून कुठल्या ह्यानं करता येईल हे उत्तर आलं पाहिजे आपल्याला. समहाव वी मस्ट, असं निम्म सोडून उपयोग नाही. मग ह्या डबल इंटिग्रेशन थोडी अडचण येते आहे, डबल इंटिग्रेशन थोडीशी अडचण येते आहे. मग आता कसं करता येईल? नाही, डबल म्हणजे प्रॉब्लेम काय झाला, आपण स्क्वेअर घेतला आणि तो स्क्वेअर घेतला आणि त्याचं डबल इंटिग्रेशन एक्स वाय करायचं जमत नाही आहे. तर एका म्हणजे बऱ्याचदा काय करायचं, दोन अप्रोच जेव्हा असतात तेव्हा एका अप्रोचला अडचण वाटलं तर तो सोडायचा आणि दुसरा अप्रोच घ्यायचा. कसं, तो कसा घेणार? तो लाईन सेगमेंटचा घ्यायचा, लाईन सेगमेंट. मग ते कसे घेऊ शकता तुम्ही? सिमेट्री वापरायची, म्हणजे टोटल ट्रायंगल आहे त्यामुळं एक्स आणि वाय कंपाऊंड फंदा पडायचं नाही. काय करायचं, ह्या लाईन मुळे, ह्या लाईन सेगमेंट मुळे हे किती आहे, ह्या लाईन सेगमेंट मुळे हे किती आहे. आता ह्या लाईन सेगमेंट मुळे किती असणार आहे आणि फक्त झेड कंपाऊंड बघायचं, एक्स वाय कंपाऊंड विसरून जायचे कारण सिमेट्री आहे म्हणून. म्हणजे ते मॅथमॅटिकली म्हणजे EY आणि EX कॅन्सल करतात हे ओव्हरऑल सिमेट्रीवरून कळतंय. फक्त EZ काढायचा. EZ बिकॉज ऑफ at y equal to something. EZ म्हणजे I consider the triangle, I consider the triangle made up of कसा इन्फायनाइट सेगमेंट म्हणले की थोडस ते आपल्याला इतकं पटत नाही, म्हणजे एकदम ते क्लिक होत नाही. म्हणून सेगमेंटच्या जवळपास जाणारी स्ट्रिप. कशा स्ट्रिप म्हणजे आता रेक्टँगल इज मेड अप ऑफ अगेन रेक्टँगल इज मेड अप ऑफ infinite strips of fixed length and negligible width. हे पटलं? लक्षात आलं? Rectangle is made up of infinite strips of fixed length and negligible width. अशा ओळीनं जवळ गेलाय. मग ट्रायंगल कसं म्हणता येईल? How will you consider triangle? Infinite strips of negligible width and variable. पण variable अजून डिस्क्राइब करताना when you go from base to decreasing lengths. Is it right? मग ते करताना कसं करायचं? A strip of length किती आहे त्याची? हे इक्वेशन पाहून घ्यायची. Strip of length म्हणजे a line segment at y. त्याची लेंथ, त्याची लिमिट्स जे आहे म्हणजे the delta Ez because of the infinitesimal width strip at y equal to minus p. At y equal to minus p. आता आपण साइड 1 घ्यायची काही गरज नाही आहे. इक्वल घेतल्यापासून म्हणजे मायनस पी म्हणायला नको 1 म्हणूया आणि वर 2 म्हणूया. ऍग्रीड अपॉन 1 आणि 2. ते 1/3 थोडं बरोबर आहे ना का चूक आहे? ट्रायंगलचा जो मिड पॉइंट आहे तिथून जो त्याचा एक पॉइंट आणि खालच्या बेसचा हाफ, बेसचं मिड पॉइंट इथं हे 1 आणि ते 2 म्हणजे आता तिथं आपण पी घेतलं तर ती वेगळी येईल. मग आपण काय करूया? ए ट्रायंगल हॅव्हिंग ऑल साइड्स इक्वल such that its length of the line joining the vertex and midpoint of the base is 3, 1 आणि 2 म्हणजे हे येईल काय? So this would be -1. We have fresh triangle. So this is -1. This point is 2. So this is origin. So what this is? This is 2. This is -1. So this is 1. What is this side? ही किती येईल? हे -1 आहे. हे -1 आहे. हे किती येईल? ही लेंथ किती? ही 3 आहे. ही 3 आहे. अँगल 60 आहे. अँगल 60 तर हे किती येणार? tan 60 किती? This is 3 upon this. याला काय म्हणूया आपण? Q म्हणूया. 3 upon Q is equal to tan 60. बरोबर आहे ना? tan 60. So Q equal to किती आले? Is it √3? So this is 2√3. √3 on this, बरोबर आहे ना? √3 on this side, √3 on this side. Okay. So what would be the range, what would be the length at y? Length at y would, when y is -1, it is 2√3 for y equal to -1. And when y equal to 2, length is 0. Length is 0. So you have to fit in, and then because of strip of variable length, what would be the what would be delta E तिथं ते फॉर्म्युला येणार नाही. तो कसा ठरायचा तुम्हाला अगदी पहिल्या इन्फायनाइटच्या आधी एक प्रॉब्लेम घेतला होता. डेल्टा ई ॲट ए डिस्टन्स किती आहे? हे डिस्टन्स किती आहे? डिस्टन्स हा 1 आहे, हा z आहे, आणि आता हा 1 नाही, ह्याचं 1 येईल, पण अदरवाइज हे y आहे. y स्क्वेअर प्लस z स्क्वेअर अंडर रूट. सो डिस्टन्स वुड बी r would be under root y square plus z square. आणि z कंपोनंट किती येईल? z upon, so z component would be z upon under root y square plus z square. Distance this. आणि मग ते यानं येणार कशानं? रो एल चं इंटिग्रेशन. म्हणजे इट वुड बी अल्टिमेटली, हे थीम महत्वाची आहे यातली. आन्सर काय कुठे हिचं ॲप हे कुठलं लागते असा प्रश्न उत्तर नाही आहे, पण हे आपल्याला कळलं पाहिजे. सो दी EZ, delta EZ, because of a finite line segment of infinitesimal width. Finite line segment of infinitesimal width, तो करायचा, and then that is to be integrated over y. आणि finite length म्हणजे डबल इंटिग्रेशन जे कळत नव्हतं आपल्याला, ते आपण कळायच्या टप्प्यात आणले. म्हणजे at given y length of the segment is function of y. त्या फॉर्म्युल्यात y येतो. त्या फॉर्म्युल्यात लेंथ जी आहे तिथे एकदा y येतो. y लक्षात आलं का? म्हणजे y प्रमाण बदलत्या लेंथच्या म्हणजे वन लाईन सेगमेंट मध्ये लाईन सेगमेंटची लेंथ ही बदलत असणार आहे. अँड देन दॅट इज टू बी इंटिग्रेटेड फ्रॉम y equal to -1 to +2. y -1 to +2. So can you come? We have some time, so let us have one complete exercise. So we finish that. So काय येईल? अटेंडन्स केलं अटेंडन्स? सत्य किती येणार? पहिला हे किती होतं? रो एल डेल्टा एक्स होतं. डेल्टा एक्स रो एल डेल्टा एक्स के रो एल डेल्टा एक्स के. म्हणजे आता हे घेतला आपण, ही लाईन घेतली ऍट डिस्टन्स y, आणि इथं आहोत आपण, तर हे डेल्टा एक्स फ्रॉम x इक्वल टू दिस टू दिस के रो एल डेल्टा एक्स असं येणार. इकडे जाणार आहे, पण इकडे येणार आहे. त्याचा आपण डेल्टा झेड घेतोय. त्याचा तो किती येणार? आपण इथं आहे, ही लाईन आहे, आपण इथं आहोत, तर तो किती येणार? ई किती येईल पहिला? ई किती? इन्फिनिट रो एल डेल्टा एक्स हे झाला डिस्टन्स किती, हे डिस्टन्स येईल ना, डिस्टन्स किती येणार एक्स स्क्वेअर प्लस वाय स्क्वेअर प्लस झेड स्क्वेअर अपॉन एक्स स्क्वेअर प्लस वाय स्क्वेअर प्लस झेड स्क्वेअर. हे काय आलं it is delta E because of this. What is delta Ez? Delta Ez is equal to K rho L delta x upon Z upon x square plus y square plus z square under root. So z upon x square plus y square plus z square is to 3 by. Is it right? And what are limits? So what is आता हा डेल्टा Ez झाला. आता हा किती ऍक्च्युली हा डेल्टा Ez तसा म्हणता येत नाही, डेल्टा Ez आहे, हा Ez आहे. हा Ez कशामुळे, हा Ez किती हा Ez K rho L Z upon x square plus y square plus z square raised to 3 by 2 delta x and limits of delta x किती dx ची limits किती y equal to -1 असताना 2 root 3 आणि y equal to 2 असताना 0 म्हणजे किती येणार root 3 येईल एक लिमिट. हे लेंथ टू रूट 3 आहे टोटल लेंथ रूट 3 मायनस रूट 3 टू रूट 3 when y equal to -1. मग कसं येणार आहे I will put it as y equal to 0 होत आहे. कसं करणार y equal to -1 असताना रूट 3 आणि y equal to 2 असताना ते 0 होते. कसं लिमिट्स देणार y minus 2 by root y minus 2 upon y minus 2 upon root 3 when y equal to 2 minus y, right? So so the limits are upper 2 minus y upon root 3 is upper limit. बरोबर आहे? When y is equal to -1, 2 minus -1 upon 3 upon root 3 is root 3. And when y equal to 2, it is 0. So this is 2 minus y upon root 3. Oh, so upper limit, so it is y minus 2 and upper limit is 2 minus y upon root 3. So what this is then? Take it here, Z. इथं काय करायला लागेल नाही x square plus y square as p square, x square plus y square as p square, right? So put z as p tan theta. When we put z as p tan theta, this will be again it will not so simple. म्हणजे मगापेक्षा सोपं असलं तर इट्स नॉट अ केक वॉक. What do you do? X square plus y square equal to p square. Right? Then Z equal to P tan theta. The limits will change. In the limits also there is Y. The limits also there is Y. Right? So that you need to take into consideration. So that would be Ez. So what that Ez is? That Ez is for rho L, which we have not yet calculated. Assuming it to be uniform line charge. But what is rho L? Rho S. So Ez is, because that's small, that rho L itself, so that Ez because of small strip will be delta Ez when you consider overall. So again, if you get confused, then you have to have E1 like that. E1 set. So that would be delta Ez, and in that rho L by limit, rho L will be rho S dy, and limits of y would be from -1 to. Is it right? So I think we wanted to complete but we could not. You completed tutorial short today.